Alright, well, back to our little tree project, and what we want to do now is expand upon the rules that we've got. You can see we've got kind of a labeled rule for trees. So I want to open up the properties, and now what I'd like to do is to edit this such that we don't have a symbol for the trees. Okay, so well, they're gone from there. And so the idea now, though, is to only put symbols up for trees of a particular type. So what I'm going to attempt to do is to refine this rule. So I've highlighted this rule, and I'm going to refine it by adding a category to the rule. You can see now it's a pull down underneath. Okay, so what we want to do is to edit this rule and put in a filter, and we want to investigate just the maple trees, and the maple trees that have a terminology that is like. And now we can put in here. Now what I'm going to do is to back up and type the %. And now we can test this, and we can find that there's 1,081 features. And now you can see that we have a reduced number of trees, but there's quite a few trees around here. There's a nice little grove of maples here, for example, on campus. So we've identified now trees that are lit up, and we can further refine this to give them a little bit more structure. So I'm going to go back to the properties here. And we kind of get fooled into looking at this, but our rule is underneath, so we're going to click on that rule and refine this particular rule. And what I want to do now is to change the marker. So I'm going to change it from a simple marker to one of these SVGs. So SVG is called a scalable vector graphic, and the neat thing about that is that allows that as things scale in size, being vector based, they'll adjust. And there's quite a number of these. You can see we could have a bicycle or what have you. So I'm just going to look, and I find tree. So since this is a maple tree, I'm going to pick this graphic that looks like a maple tree. And I'm going to change it to being green, and I'm going to increase the size of it and increase the border of it. And this may not be anything we really like. It just is, for example, a demonstration. So now, when I look at this, you can see I've got actual, kind of trees that look like trees, and it's kind of a neat scenario. So we can continue with this process and just add more to it. So I'll go back up and come down here to the properties and open up the trees, and I'm going to click on just the trees this time, because what I want is another category here of trees. So I'm going to refine this current rule to add a category. So now I've got another category I'm going to call, well, I'll just leave this okay and just say add. Okay, and that at least puts it there, and then I found that that's a little easier to work with. So I'm going to edit this particular rule now. So now I'm editing the rule, not adding, and we'll call these the pines. And we'll create a filter for the pines, and we'll delete whatever it's put in there, and we'll go for their common name, and so the common name will be like, and then back to the common. So we'll go look to see what all the types they have, and I think there was a pine in there someplace, so there's an Australian pine. And do the same thing here. I'm going to back up and put the % sign in there. Okay, well, let's test this. And we've got 1100 pines, so that's good. And this one I'm going to put a scale range on as well, and we'll start at a minimum, down at the same level of 100, but we'll only go to maybe 2000 here. And we're going to go from a simple marker to a SVG marker, and we'll look at some of the SVGs again, and SVGs for the symbols, and that one looks like a pine tree, so we'll use that one. Pine trees are a little darker. Yeah, I guess we'll make them lighter in this case. Select the color, and we'll crank these guys up as well. Put a border around them. So we can make all these different changes that we want. Change the angle. For example, maybe we might want them at 90 degrees. It may not be what we want, but we'll just put it in there for example. Maybe 45. We'll go with 45. Okay, so now we've got some pines in there, and you can see this has this different scale. So here the trees are going to all drop out at that level, but they're going to look kind of like this at this level. Okay, so we'll apply that and see how that looks. And so now we can see the pine trees and the maple trees are significantly different. And if I scroll out just a little bit, I still have the maples, but the pines are gone. So you see my maple trees are, they're getting kind of mushy in here. So what I might want to do is to change how their graphic appeals as they scroll in. So I'll come back again and go to the properties here, and now I have to open up the trees again and so on. So I'm going to edit the rule and set some scales here such that once I get above 2000 I want something else to happen. So I've got that set there. And that's set at 1000, so I can just take that down to 100. So here I've got maple trees and pine trees, and the pines disappear and so on as they get larger. But I may want to have the maple trees and have them look a little different at a bigger scale. So I'm just going to keep adding to that by adding more rules. So I'm going to refine the current rule by adding a category. I'm just going to let this do whatever it wants. Oh, I guess I could go a little bit further. Add a category, whatever it wants. I guess I hit add and say OK. You can do these a bunch at the same time. So now in this case, now I'm going to click here and edit this particular rule, and the label is going to be maples. Test it and change the scale range to start as a minimum of 2000, and now from 2000 to 10,000 I'm going to have a different representation. So I'm going to go to a simple marker this time around, and it will be of a particular color. Maybe I'll make it that same dark green of the maple tree. And I may make it a little bit smaller. So this is a smaller marker now. So Now if I apply this, what I can get is a situation that as you're further away, the maples show up as little green dots, and as you roll in, they look differently. So that's a good introduction to rule-based manipulation of your images.